could you give us just some examples of things that can stem from a foot issue? Because so often, because of the holistic nature of the body, it's all interconnected. We could be chasing something that doesn't exist, thinking, oh, my lower back pain is this and this and this. Could it be originating from your foot?
Most of the time, yes.
So what are some most common things that you're seeing that are foot issues that are appearing somewhere else in the body? So it's almost tricking people to pursue or chase something else when really they just need to get back to the foundation.
Super simple, super easy to explain.
Okay.
Plantar fasciitis. I get more questions about that than anything. Flat feet, high arches, ankle issues, right? Not being able to get into a squat because of ankle rigidity or foot rigidity. Mm-hmm. That stems from having a restrictive device around your foot, right?
Yep.
You probably see people in gyms nowadays, and it's been trending for a while, but taking their shoes off to do a deadlift so they can maximize the power throughout the foot. But then for whatever reason, they put on their shoes to go and do all the other exercises, and they go outside and spend most of their time outside, right?
Yep.
With a restrictive shoe. For me, it's no judgment, but it's like, okay, if it makes sense for you to maximize your power for your deadlift, then how does it not make sense for you to maximize your power throughout your walking gait? Right?
Right.
The way you stand.
Yeah.
And if you have a heel lift, now on your shoe, even if it's a small heel lift, you're now shortening the Achilles, shortening the calf, therefore altering the pitch of your pelvis.
Wow.
Altering the curvature in your back, right?
Whoa.
Changing, and then we compound that with tight hip flexors because of sitting at a 90-degree angle for most of the day. And then we compound that with shoulders rolling forward because we have devices in our hands, right? And so everything
That's a perfect storm.
Yeah,
for
it's a perfect storm. And a lot of it comes from the feet.
Starting at the feet.
And so does it make sense to then try to only focus on the shoulders if we have shoulder pain, or only focus on the back when we have back pain? To me, it doesn't make sense, but it's job security for all the people who specialize in those areas, right?
Right.
Because we go to the back doctor, we go to the shoulder doctor, we go to the, all these different specialists, when at the end of the day, maybe we should be focusing on, let's start with the foundation, try to build the body on a blank canvas, right? And a strong foundation, and then build the house.
That's so good. I personally experienced this because I didn't know what to believe, but I was willing to give the barefoot thing a try. And so I started hardly wearing shoes ever. And I wouldn't wear them when I worked out. I was barefoot most of the day. And after a year, my shoes didn't fit. Mm-hmm. My feet became the size that they were supposed to be because they weren't squished all the time. And so then it was hard to find shoes that fit after that. So I so appreciate that companies like Vivo Barefoot are preparing the way for people who are going to embrace a proper foundation. I think something like this, just like foot and toe health, I noticed there's a hesitancy or like a neglect, if I can use that word, regarding cellular health because they can't see it. And a lot of times we're not looking at our feet, so we overlook our foot health because we're covering it all the time. It's not a mirror muscle. It's not the thing that's getting the attention that we want. But it's that same battle to shift mindsets around cellular health as well. Something that you can't see, that you need to invest in just as much as the mirror muscles, if not more. So how do you communicate with your clients the necessity of pursuing something that they haven't been told, like for foot health, cellular health, because you're such an ambassador for Pulse PEMF? How do you communicate with your clients about something that is often overlooked, but also not even really valued in general?
That is a great point. And it is interesting because
it's a mindset shift, right?
It absolutely is. Like, if we don't think about it, there's this book, I forget the author's name, but it's The Perception of Our Beliefs, I think is what it's called. And someone can, double check.
Leave it in the comments, yeah, what it was.
So I think it's Perception of Belief. And basically, and I know also there's a few books out there beyond that talk about this, but sometimes, like, until we focus on something, it's not a part of our reality. So it doesn't really work or doesn't really become effective for that person, right? It's like, does a tree in the forest that falls, does it make a sound if you're not there? Like, well, that's something to think about, right? It's an interesting question. And I remember when I first started diving into, I did the certification for Pulse, by the way, like back when I first started employing it. And I became this cellular exercise coach, so to speak, right? And when I put that on my profiles, people were like, what is that? I'm like, ooh, anytime there's a question, there's an opportunity to educate.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I'm like, oh, yeah. Did you realize that our cells, benefit from exercise? And not just only the exercise that we do, like we know of running and lifting weights, but the difference in the pulse, right? The difference in the frequency, the movement. We are, at the end of the day, we're frequency beings, we're energetic beings. And so the vibration, the movement, the pulse, the activity we get within our cells make us who we are, period, right? And so if a person's hearing this, maybe they don't understand it still, but if we can get them on one of our systems, right, with one of the pulse systems, you almost immediately, like what happened to me, turns on. Now you start to go, okay, wait. So now you start to ask more questions. Well, what would happen if I put it here? What would happen if I put it there? And when it comes to what I do with Vivo, I think one of the obvious things is, let's start with the feet. Let's put the paddles underneath the feet, and let's see if you can feel it. Because if you can't feel it, then maybe your body needs more of it, right?
Hello.
Right? Maybe you need better hydration. Now we can start to uncover some of these other conversations because we started to talk about pulsing your feet.
So good.
Right?
So
and
good.
so, if a person has neuropathy, I mean, that's one of the main things I use the paddles for and the rings for with the feet is people with neuropathy. And this is that tingling, numbing sensation, burning sensation, and that comes from not getting enough movement, not getting enough circulation. Well, that's an easy start. That's an easy start, right? Just get right to it, pulse the feet, and then go from there. And then the next question, usually people ask me if I have them on a table, like the Z-Graph or the the flatbed or the flat pad. Sometimes, or at least with the older accessory, with the table,
The contoured total body bed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The contoured total body bed. One of the first questions I get is like, "Hey, I feel it, but it's not on in the legs. I don't feel it in the legs." So I get a chance to talk to them about the nerve bundling that we have in our hips and in our shoulders and things like that. But sometimes what I'll do is ask them to put the square pad or the paddles on their feet while they're doing that, and then I can work on it, right? Or while they're on the table asking me all these profound questions that they feel is like, whoa, my world is changing, I can work on their feet while I'm talking to them. It's a really good moment. I'm not a massage therapist, but I can do massage.
That's right. Yep.
I'm not a foot reflexologist, but I can do foot reflexology, right?
Yep.
And so now I have them for an hour or however long I have them, and when they leave, their minds are blown, and they feel different. And so then I can use that for the next moment, the next moment, the next moment. So yeah, that's how I do it.
That actually goes into another question that I wanted to ask you, because you started with the Pulse X, which is our mobile PEMF solution. How has because you're not afraid to experiment, you're not afraid to try new things. So how has your use of Pulse evolved over the years?
So my first personal experience in terms of like using it for myself was the Pulse X, right?
Yep.
But that first experience I was telling you about
XL Pro,
was
right?
the XL Pro with the chair and all that. But then I remember distinctly, it was during the pandemic when I was in a situation where I thought to myself, okay, I want to do the most I can to help my body and everything about me throughout the pandemic, because no one really knew what was happening. And so I was doing the grounding. I was doing all kinds of interesting things, okay? And I was thinking to myself, okay, I've got the means, I've got the money, I'm not traveling, I'm not really going anywhere. So let me look into getting my own system. And I knew I was going to be traveling a lot, right? Even though that most people in that time period couldn't travel, but I was traveling because I was with a particular client at that time. And I thought, okay, if I want to do the most for myself and for my client at that time, let me get what I can get. And right at that point, the best I could do was the Pulse X. And I quickly understood that, like, oh, this one is different because you don't necessarily set the frequency, you don't set the time, you don't, do all these things. You just kind of flip the switch, turn the dial. Oh, and I was like, oh, this is a low barrier to entry. This makes it easy for me to just explain to my clients, okay, I don't need to be here pushing buttons. Just flip it on, turn the dial.
Yes.
Get to a point where you feel that sensation because it is tangible. So now that's another level of communication with clients. And then I never forget, like I had the Pulse X, and my client at the time had some issues with her foot. And when I had her pulsing on her hips and her back and her shoulders, she could feel the Pulse X, like no problem. But when I got to the foot, she couldn't really feel it. So what do we do? Well, she had way more means than I did. So it's like, well, if you really want to like feel it and get to like specific power, and we get to specific frequencies and things like that, we need to get the XL Pro. So she rented the XL Pro, rented it a couple times, and lo and behold, that became a non-negotiable for her.
Wow.
Right? So that was my experience. And then I'll never forget, there was one point in which we had to switch out, the XL Pro for a moment. And so she had to borrow my X. Yep. And she was just like, it's not going to cut it.
It's hard to go back. Once you go to the Pulse XO Pro,
exactly,
it is hard.
Exactly.
But the X is efficacious. It's potent.
Yeah.
It is powerful. It gets the job done. So talking a little bit about machines, what about accessories? Are there any like favorite uses you have, regular pulsing, the accessories that are non-negotiables for you now, that you use this on a weekly basis? This is what you do as part of your personal pulsing routine.
100%. And you can, if a person has ever been to my apartment in New York, or if they've ever been with me at any point in time, most likely it's at my apartment in New York. My non-negotiable every single night is the power pad. Okay, that is my favorite accessory. Why? Because I connect it to my X, and I turn it on to a comfortable, level, and I just kind of sit there while I'm using the red light device on my head, and I'm thinking of it. I'm literally thinking to myself, like I might be watching TV and relax for a moment, but one of the benefits of having the X is that you don't have to worry about the timing, like the time. You don't have to worry about it shutting off and getting back up and turning it on. I can sit there for hours. In fact, before I had the power pad, I had the square pad, so the older square pad, and I put it in the seat of a rocking chair, and I used that as my recovery from my hernia repair surgery. Yep. And I will never forget, like, I couldn't really do much during that time period because I was supposed to be kind of sat still, get some movement, but spend most of my time recovering. Yeah. And I thought, well, I have this amazing unit here. I may as well use it as much as I can. And so I just sat on the square pad inside of the rocking chair. So I was getting the rocking movement, but I was also getting the cellular exercise, right? I was getting
brilliant.
That,
I love it.
And it helped me. And then I obviously, I sleep grounded. So I have a grounding sheet on my bed. I have grounded pillowcases, but I also was connecting my ankles to a grounded ankle pad or this ankle attachment. So I was grounded, plus I was pulsing, plus I was hydrated, plus I was, doing all the different things, putting the certain ointments on there. And I'll never forget, when I went to the doctor, the surgeon, I think it was like a 2-week checkup, the look on his face was like, wait, we had you come in 2 weeks, right? You had your surgery 2 weeks ago, right? I was like, I had this smile on my face. I was like, yeah. 2 weeks ago.
You knew where he was going.
Because he was like, "How did you recover this fast?" It was like almost like Wolverine, you know. And
Come on.
my other client, at the same time, weirdly enough, he had a hernia repair surgery, and he has a Pulse XL Pro system. He was doing something very similar to me, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing. His doctor was just like, "Wow." He actually recovered faster than I did, and he's in his 80s. Well, at that time, he wasn't quite 80 yet, but you know.
Wow.
So he was recovering at the same rate, if not better, than I was, and I'm half his age. Isn't that crazy?
This is not just a slogan.
Yeah.
Yours says defying limits, come back stronger. Like, this is exactly what we're talking about.
That's right.
It's a modality for these purposes. For the one who needs to recover from a surgery, you don't just come back to a former state. You're coming back to a stronger state.
Right.
And for those who are looking to perform at another level, it's both ends. All right, so you've already shared an amazing comeback stronger story with a part B with your friend who was using the XL Pro. So do you have like another defying limits or a comeback story? It could be you or a friend or a client that you've worked with.
So there's an interesting thing that I thought we talked about on the Pulsecast before, but I found out last night that I guess we didn't. And this is this notion of transference and what comes up from that. And so this may not be like a defying limits, but I do think it does allow people to kind of understand how and where they can take their performance based on hydration, based on cellular energy, right?
Yeah.
Just to truly understand what it all means. And I think that ultimately is defying limits, because if you don't know what your limits are, then how can you defy them?
That's a great point.
Right? So transference is interesting, and it's one of the little projects that I do when people come over to my house. Like if I have several people over, it's almost always especially if I have like more than 3 people, there'll be a moment in which I'll go, "Hey, do you want to do this little project real quick?" And they're always like, "Sure." And so I'm the guy that has like molecular hydrogen machines, and I've got ozone and all kinds of weird stuff. But then I've got the pulse system. And so what I'll do is I'll get out my grounding kit, and it's usually like a mat that is made out of carbon. And I have a tester. I have several different testers, of course, but I usually will take a tester, and I will have each person basically be connected. And so instead of having every person connect their feet to the one mat, I'll have one person connect to the mat, test them to see. Well, first I'll test the grounding mat to make sure it's grounded. Usually it's a green light that comes on, and I have another device that will make a sound, right? So, but I'll have them try it. Usually the mat turns green right away. I have a person put their foot or hand on the mat. I put the tester on that person. They immediately are grounded. Mm-hmm. Then I'll have another person. So the first person stays on the mat the way they are. Then I'll have another person just hold the hand of the first person. I'll test the second person. Usually they're grounded. And it goes on and on and on and on for however many people are in the room. But almost always, there's 1 or 2 people that don't test positively, right? That the green light doesn't come on. So a person hearing this right now might think, well, yeah, the further you get out, the weaker the signal is. No, that's not true. So usually when I find a person in the room that is not grounded or can't receive the grounding, that's where the link stops, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I then take that person to the grounding mat by themselves to see if they can be grounded, and usually they're not. So what do? I go, okay, well, this is an example of transference and how that works. And so usually that person is not hydrated or doesn't have enough cellular activity going. So what I'll do is I'll have them sit on my power pad, and I will give them water with electrolytes right? So good, clean, healthy water with electrolytes. Sometimes I'll have them do molecular hydrogen if the timing is good. But I usually have them do that for about 5 minutes. And I would say 100% of the time, they become grounded. And so much so that I can have them at the very end of the line and they will be grounded.
And just 5 minutes on a power pad.
Yeah. And keep in mind.
And with the water and the electrolytes.
Yeah. Because the cellular energy is enhanced by being hydrated. Right?
Wow. That is such a great science experiment.
Yeah.
Like, what if they did that in high school and started teaching about...
Maybe they should.
I think they should.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a very practical experiment to prove cellular energy is a foundational, another overlooked foundation, right?
That's exactly right. That's
Man.
exactly right. And so of course you start to answer more questions. And again, it's why I'm saying it's defining the limits, because is it, I always think to myself, well, okay, is it lack of hydration? Well, what does lack of hydration mean? That's the limit, right? So most people would think immediately water and nowadays electrolytes. But what about just the hydration of the skin? So maybe you just need some magnesium on the skin. Maybe you need to take a magnesium supplement. Maybe if it's in the summer when in the winter and the heat is going, maybe the environment is really dry, which, we have people experience more static discharge during the winter because of that.
Yep.
Right? But what is static discharge? That's another question, right? It's a transference of charge. Right? So do you want to cellularly charge your body to give the most optimum opportunity to heal? Yeah, you need cellular voltage, right?
Yep.
Like our cells require energy or voltage to be able to do what it's supposed to do. If the cell needs to kill off itself, apoptosis,
Yep.
then you need energy to do that.
Yes, 100%.
If you want the cells to recycle themselves, right, then it needs to have energy to do that. So it's kind of cool that you have a system like Pulse to be able to help you through that process.
And such a simple and fast. I mean, even 5 minutes to see that big of a difference.
Yeah.
And we've actually seen a number of studies recently where 20 minutes is kind of a sweet spot for Pulse.
Yeah.
Where if all you have is 20 minutes before work, that is more than enough to be able to set yourself up for success for the rest of the day, and then another 20 minutes in the evening. This is doable for most people. So you just listed a number of other, not necessarily modalities, but hacks for biohacking, certain supplementation, timing of those things. To the person who's new to this, it could probably feel like drinking out of a fire hydrant at times, where you're just exactly. You're just trying to, there's so much information out there. And normally on the Pulsecast, I want to focus on just the positives, the things that are really building up. But we also need to have an authentic conversation about the direction of the biohacking and wellness and longevity space, because there's so many options out there. What would you say to the person who maybe is new to this? What are some pitfalls that they can avoid just from the get-go? Because there's a lot to consider right out the gate.
You're absolutely right. And I'm known as the guy that likes to stack the hacks. Now,
we like that.
I don't do that because that is required. I do that so I can do what I'm doing right now with you, is to share my experiences. So the person listening, they might go, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
But it's because I talked about it. Because I experienced it, right?
Yep.
Or, I might mention something like plantar fasciitis, and the person watching or listening might go, I have that. Let me listen more, right? So I try to do things so that I can be more relatable to the person that's on the other side of this conversation. But I'm also the same person that likes to pair ancestral wisdom and nature. I like to pair that with modern technology, because if we have it available, that means that there might be an opportunity to maximize it, to optimize it, Right. So what I talked about yesterday, what we did here with this project we're doing now, filming and shooting on location, is, there was some moments where we did a lot of recording on the indoors, but I think, most excited to be outside. I mean,
you lit up when we started filming outside. Yes.
It's just why not?
Yeah.
I mean,
And we were blessed with a perfect day. I mean, the weather was amazing.
Perfect day. But I was even saying to Zoe, like, even today, like it started off with it slightly overcast and it's slightly cooler today. I said, but that's still kind of perfect for photos because you don't need a diffuser. You have a natural diffuser of the clouds, right? And no matter what's happening outside, it's a perfect day to get outside.
Come on.
Right?
Yep.
So that's why we build things like shoes to protect against the elements. That's why we have clothing to protect against the elements, right?
Yep.
Or we can maximize that by trying to bring in red light therapy to mimic the sun, right? Mm-hmm. We can use hyperbaric oxygen chambers to mimic going below sea level, right? Going deeper into the ocean. We can do a number of these things, but we don't have to. Just because it's there doesn't mean we have to do it. So one of the first things I would say for people, like we said before, is get outside as much as possible. Move as much as possible. I'm not saying exercise as much as possible. There's a difference.
Yes.
And if anyone has ever read my book, most people probably don't know that I wrote a book. It's called The Awareness Shift. That book highlights those things. It's like a triage effect of like what is some of the most important things I've discovered over my tenure of working with clients and sort of experimenting on myself. It's 5 pillars for optimal health and wellness, the way that I see it, right? And so it's like you can read the book and go through that and see what that's about. But ultimately, get outside as much as possible, experience nature in the way that nature is going to have you experience it, right? Nature, I think Will was saying it yesterday, like nature doesn't care what you think, right? Nature's going to do its thing. So get outside and experience it. We live in a world in which we chase comfort all the time. So there's a really good book written by Michael Easter called The Comfort Crisis. That book is a really profound book to help point out why do we always have to have the cushioned couch? Why do we also always have to have the perfect temperature indoors? You know, why do the lights always have to be on? That's not how nature intended it to be. So when we hack that, there's no surprise that certain things start to change in our biology.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
And that even the title itself says so much, a comfort crisis.
Yeah.
And with all of the experimentation that you're doing, I'm sure everybody can see the fire that's in you to live, not just survive, but to live, to really live your life well. What, dare I ask, what do you have on the docket for the rest of 2026 and the near future? I'm sure you're a busy man, so you may only be able to share a cursory amount, but...
Well, let's put it this way, because you're right. There's a bunch. I mean, I feel like this year, I say this every year, but seriously, this year is a breakout year already. There's a lot of different companies that I'm working with that I think have finally seen this fire that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. They finally are seeing it and they want to be a part of it.
Yep.
And I'm happy for that. You know, I feel very fortunate to be where I am today and to be able to work with companies like Pulse, to be able to work with companies like Vivo Barefoot, because I want people to know that I try to be as authentic as possible. I will not work with companies just for the sake of money, okay? Now, there have been times in my life where I've thought to myself, man, that would be a really good paycheck. I could use that right now. But I just don't feel right promoting something that doesn't truly work for me or that I don't truly use, okay? And so Pulse is one of those companies, for sure. That's why I'm here right now. Vivo Barefoot is one of those companies. That's why I do what I do. But I plan on writing another book. In fact, I've already written another book, but I plan on rewriting it because I started writing it 2 years ago after I wrote the first book. And I realized that first book was a little bit overwhelming for a lot of people. It was like way too much stuff to try to put into one book. So now the second book is based around what people know me most for, which is fitness. So, okay, what can I do to offer something in the form of movement for most people. And I feel like that's a good gateway into all the other things that I'm doing. So it's almost like breaking down the 5 pillars in that first book, the awareness shift. It's almost like breaking it down from the smallest thing, which was exercise. Okay. So the thing that has the most impact is pillar number 1, which is quality awareness. Pillar number 2 is quality rest and recovery. Pillar number 3 is quality consumption. Pillar number 4 is quality activeness. Pillar number 5 is quality exercise. Well, most people think that exercise is the biggest bang for the buck. It's like making our problems bigger than the universe. No. So, since I know that's how people think, well, let me reverse it and let me start with the next book being quality exercise, right? So I'm going to go over some components within that. It's not going to be called quality exercise, but what are some things that I do that gives you the most bang for your buck? That's simple, not easy, but simple to do, simple to carry out, because I don't want people saying, well, I would do that, but I don't have the right shoes. I would do that, but I don't have enough time.
We love our excuses, don't we?
That's right. So be on the lookout for that. I think, I've really I'm building out my YouTube to become eventually like more of a show. Okay. I feel like it's going to become a show. And so for anyone out there that is into making shows, hit me up.
I could definitely see you. Yes.
Coming.
You're a good fit for that.
Thank you. Yeah. So,
books, possibly a show, I'm sure traveling a lot, traveling extensively.
Traveling a lot. Yeah. And I also have in the plans for doing a retreat, finally doing a retreat, because that's been one of my long-term visions for many years is doing a retreat, because I do understand that it's hard to work with someone virtually, like in the form of a podcast or even putting out content on social media. It's hard for people to truly make a change. And then even working with someone one-on-one is just but a fraction of time throughout their lifetime. So what if I can get people for a weekend or for a week or for a month to do like a full-on like transformation?
Wow.
This is what I want to start doing.
And that's one of the pillars in your book was the quality rest.
Yeah.
Wow. So are you going to be at Biohack this year? Will we see you at Biohack?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
All right. So we'll see you probably at a couple shows as well. And how can our viewers learn more about you and the work that you're doing?
Thank you for the opportunity. I am most easily found at Joshua J. Holland. So Joshua J. Holland. And that's on all major social media platforms. I was fortunate enough and early into the game enough to get that for every single one of the platforms. So LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of them.
Love it. And for the future, for those who are following you on social media, what are some of the brands that you're working with in 2026 that they can watch more about and learn more about those modalities?
So far, at least some of the keystone brands, Pulse, obviously, Pulse PEMF, Vivo Barefoot, of course, Stem Regen is a huge one. Like, I'm really excited about my work with Stem Regen because I actually discovered the power of Stem Regen from the Biohacking conference. And I started taking it for a while before I mentioned anything to social media or anybody in my circle. I took it for a while because I wanted to see, because I'll be honest with you, when I first saw the stuff about Stem Regen, I was like, nah, come on, it can't be. And then I started taking it. And then I started to really take it, like double up on it and triple up on it. And I started to ask them some questions and did a podcast and did all these things. And I'm like, wait a minute. This product has me like recovering like I was half my age. So I could care less if anyone else believes me. I really could care less because I love it, right?
Yep.
So much so that I've gone full force in working with them now, So you'll probably see some ads on social media I think it's hilarious when I get these comments from people that are clearly trolling. I think it's hilarious. I had the option to turn off the comments and and delete comments. Nope, leave it up there, because for all the haters out there, you're helping the algorithm. So thank you. Yeah.
I love it.
Another company that I do a lot of work with is the One Device.
Okay.
So I'm a big fan of the One Device.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you'll see me talk about them. And this is just another frequency device, because at the end of the day, we are frequency beings, like I was saying, right?
Yep.
So when you can utilize light and frequency and vibration and sound, all of those things make sense, right? So why not put it together with everything else that I'm working on? So those are but a few. There will be more.
Yep.
So stay tuned.
I love it. And just the way that you're stacking these just proves that we have a bright future with the wellness and biohacking space. So
Speaking of bright, that's why I wear these, because we're in front of bright lights. So Raw Optics, probably one of the longest brands that I've worked with. Raw Optics, love their stuff. So these are the Tempest glasses. Or wait, are these the Tempest? Yeah, these are the Tempest glasses. So these are blue blocking lenses, and this is the daylight lens. So I use this when I'm in front of a bunch of lights and electronics and things like that. You won't see me wearing these outside, because I want to benefit from the natural light. But when there's non-native or non-natural lighting, I usually have something like this on, and that's it. That's enough for the plugs.
But it just goes to show how practical these life changes can be. It's just as simple as wearing something, putting something on your face. That can make all the difference. And so if you want more information about the practicals of biohacking, Josh Holland is definitely your man. Josh, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you
today.
Man.
This whole week has been amazing. And continue to follow Pulsecast, as we're providing you that front row seat of the biohacking and wellness movement. There's so many discoveries that are coming forth every year. It's an exciting place to be. And for more behind the scenes, PEMF tips, tricks, and hacks, follow us on social media, including some contests that are coming in 2026, where you can win some of this awesome swag.
Ooh.
And have the opportunity to experience wellness in so many different ways. PulsePMF.com is the location. And until next time, I'm Nate with the Pulsecast. We'll see you.